Your water just turned black. Not brown, not murky. Black. The kind of black that means every filtration system you own is already obsolete. Your commercial filter, the one rated for 10,000 gallons, just became a plastic paperweight in 60 seconds flat. The municipal purification grid went offline 48 hours ago. The backup reservoirs are contaminated with compounds that no consumer-grade system was ever engineered to handle. You're not dealing with sediment. You're not dealing with bacteria. You're dealing with a chemical signature that the water treatment industry spent 2 decades pretending didn't exist. And here's the thing. The 5 purification methods that actually work in this scenario, they've been buried, not by accident, by design. Because the moment consumers understand what genuinely solves contamination at a molecular level, the entire filtration cartridge subscription model collapses. Today, you're going to learn exactly what those methods are, and more importantly, why every purification company on this planet made sure you never heard of them. I've processed 17,000 hours of survival archives from the collapse. The water contamination scenarios alone account for 62% of preventable human casualties. Not because clean water was unavailable, because the knowledge to extract it was systematically suppressed before the systems went down. Drone queries. Why would humans suppress water purification data during survival scenarios? The answer is simple. These weren't survival scenarios when the decisions were made. They were profit centers. And profit centers don't survive the discovery of permanent solutions. Before we continue, the information ahead isn't classified. It's just inconvenient for every company that sold you a filter rated for conditions it was never designed to handle. Subscribe. Activate notifications. You're joining a community that reads the chemistry instead of the marketing. Drop a comment with one piece of water purification gear you own and tell me what it's actually rated for. The number might surprise you. Now let's dismantle this system one contamination scenario at a time. Method 1. And this is where most people stop listening because it sounds too simple. Solar disinfection. The survival industry buried this technique under layers of marketing complexity because a solar disinfection system costs nothing. Zero. The technology is ultraviolet radiation and visible light penetration through transparent material. That's it. Here's what they don't tell you. Solar disinfection doesn't just kill bacteria. When UVA radiation between 315 and 400 nanometers penetrates clear water for 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight, it triggers a photochemical reaction inside microbial cells. DNA replication inside those organisms halts completely. You're not filtering. You're not chemically treating. You're using the same mechanism that sterilized this planet for 4 billion years before humans invented plastic bottles. But solar disinfection has a limitation that the industry exploits relentlessly. Turbid water. Water so contaminated with suspended particles that UV light cannot penetrate the full depth of the container. The industry uses this single limitation to dismiss the entire method. That's the trick. They acknowledge solar disinfection works on clear water, then immediately declare it useless because most contaminated water isn't clear. Case closed. Method dismissed. Here's the solution they don't want you to know. Pre-settlement. You let the contaminated water sit undisturbed in a sealed container for 2 hours. Gravity does the work. Suspended particles sink. The water above clarifies naturally. Then you decant the clear upper layer into your solar disinfection containers. 2-stage process. Zero cost. The industry framed turbidity as an unsolvable barrier. It's a 30-minute inconvenience at worst. The suppression here is economic, not technical. A single-use filter cartridge generates recurring revenue. Sunlight generates nothing. The industry response was predictable. They funded studies emphasizing that solar disinfection requires perfectly clear water and optimal conditions. Both claims are deliberately exaggerated. The method works in partial cloud cover. It works in contaminated urban environments. The conditions they demand don't exist because the failure mode they're protecting is their revenue stream, not your survival. Method 2. This one will make you uncomfortable because it involves a chemical compound the filtration industry actively discourages consumers from using independently. Chlorine dioxide, not sodium hypochlorite, not household bleach. The molecular difference between these two compounds is the difference between a scalpel and a sledgehammer. Chlorine dioxide operates at a fundamentally different oxidation level than conventional chlorine-based treatments. It doesn't just kill surface-level biological contaminants. The compound attacks the electron transport chains of organic molecules directly. Viral RNA, bacterial membranes, fungal spores, and the kind of synthetic biological agents that conventional chlorine treatment bounces off of, all of them, destroyed at a dosage of 0.8 parts per million, maintained for 30 minutes of contact time. But here's the part the industry buried deepest. Chlorine dioxide remains active in water for significantly longer than conventional chlorine. Conventional chlorine dissipates within minutes in open water. Chlorine dioxide maintains its oxidation capacity for hours. That means a single treatment holds. You don't need to redose every time the water sits. You don't need a second chemical stage. One application, sustained effectiveness. So why doesn't every survival kit ship with chlorine dioxide tablets by default? Because chlorine dioxide is stable. A single treatment cycle can render water drinkable in scenarios where you'd need to replace a conventional filter 17 times. The business model for permanent or semi-permanent solutions doesn't align with quarterly revenue projections. The filtration industry funded regulatory complexity around chlorine dioxide manufacturing that has nothing to do with safety and everything to do with market control. Method 3. And here's where the conversation gets uncomfortable for a different reason. Ceramic filtration with silver ion integration. Not the ceramic filters you can buy at any outdoor retailer. Those are first-generation technology. What I'm describing is a filtration matrix that combines ceramic micropore filtration with continuous silver ion release. Silver has been antimicrobial for 4,000 years. The science is not controversial. Silver ions at concentrations between 10 and 100 parts per billion continuously destroy bacterial cell membranes through ion exchange. The problem isn't the science. The problem is that a ceramic filter with integrated silver ion release has a functional lifespan measured in decades, not months. And here's what makes silver ion integration genuinely dangerous to the filtration industry. The ceramic matrix itself is self-cleaning under UV exposure. Sunlight penetrating the ceramic structure kills the biological buildup that would clog a conventional filter within weeks. Combine that with the silver ion antimicrobial effect, and you have a filtration system that essentially maintains itself. No replacement schedule, no degradation curve that forces a repurchase. Drone observation. Silver ion integration extends filtration unit operational life by a factor of approximately 40. Protagonist. Minimum, which is precisely why you won't find it in any mainstream survival kit. 40 times the lifespan means 1/40th of the replacement purchases. The math is not complicated. The industry addressed this threat the only way it could. They funded consumer education campaigns that positioned silver as toxic at low concentrations. The EPA guideline of 0.1 parts per million as a secondary standard is not a health threshold, it's a market protection threshold. Silver ion filters operating at 50 parts per billion are well below that guideline and functionally antimicrobial. The warning exists not because silver harms you, because silver integrated filtration kills the need for replacement cartridges. Method 4. This is the one that changes the conversation entirely. Electrochemical water purification through electrolysis. No chemicals, no filters, no moving parts that wear out. Just direct current electricity applied to contaminated water through inert electrodes. Here's the mechanism. When direct current passes through water containing dissolved contaminants, electrolysis generates chlorine gas at the anode and sodium hydroxide at the cathode. These two compounds, generated in situ, react with each other to produce sodium hypochlorite. You are, in effect, generating a purification agent from the contamination itself. The system is self-sustaining as long as you have electricity and electrodes that don't corrode. But the electrochemical method has a second capability that most sources deliberately omit: heavy metal extraction. When you adjust the electrode voltage precisely, dissolved metals like lead, mercury, and cadmium migrate to the cathode and plate out as solid deposits. You're not just purifying the water biologically. You're removing the chemical contamination that no filter in existence can catch at trace concentrations. The suppression here is brutally simple. Electrochemical purification eliminates the chemical supply chain entirely. No ongoing purchases of treatment chemicals, no filter cartridges, no proprietary consumables. The electrode materials, platinum or titanium oxide coated, last for years under normal operation. The entire recurring revenue model for water treatment collapses the moment electrochemical purification becomes mainstream consumer technology. The companies that dominate the water treatment market also dominate the chemical supply chains. The conflict of interest is structural, not conspiratorial. Method 5. The final method. And this one has been suppressed not by the water industry, but by the energy industry. Plasma arc water treatment. Temperatures exceeding 10,000 degrees Celsius for fractions of a second. At plasma temperatures, every molecular bond in contaminated water breaks, every single one. Bacteria, viruses, chemical compounds, radioactive isotopes at certain concentrations, heavy metals in solution. The water reassembles as pure H2O when the plasma cools. The physics here is absolute. There is no contaminant that survives 10,000 degrees. None. This is not filtration. This is molecular demolition. But plasma arc treatment reveals something deeper about how suppression works. The technology was not unknown. It was tested, documented, validated by multiple independent research institutions across 3 continents. The obstacle was never technical. It was never about whether plasma could purify water. It was about who controlled the energy infrastructure required to power it. Plasma arc treatment requires significant power input. That's the technical limitation, but it's not the reason it was suppressed. The reason is that plasma arc treatment makes water purification a solved problem, permanently, completely, for any contamination scenario that exists. The water treatment industry, the chemical industry, and the filtration manufacturing sector all face existential revenue threats if plasma arc technology reaches consumer scale. Drone queries. Plasma arc technology exists in operational form. Why is it not deployed in contamination scenarios? Protagonist. Because it works too well, and systems that work permanently don't generate recurring revenue. The economics of failure are more profitable than the economics of solutions. Here is the pattern. You've just received 5 purification methods across 5 different technological domains. Solar disinfection, chlorine dioxide chemical treatment, ceramic silver ion filtration, electrochemical generation, plasma arc molecular destruction. Each one solves water purification independently. Each one was suppressed, marginalized, or deliberately complicated by the same economic structure. Not because they don't work. They work. The data confirms they work. They were buried because they work too well to coexist with a subscription-based filtration industry. This is not a coincidence. This is a system. The water treatment market generates over $400 billion annually in recurring revenue from consumable products. Filters, chemicals, cartridges, replacement components. Every permanent or semi-permanent solution that enters consumer awareness threatens that revenue structure. The suppression mechanism is not shadowy. It is quarterly earnings projections. It is regulatory capture funded by industry lobbying. It is marketing campaigns designed to make effective technology seem dangerous or impractical. The collapse didn't create this problem. It revealed it. Every one of these 5 methods existed before the systems went down. Everyone was available, documented, and scientifically validated. The gap between what was known and what was distributed was not an oversight. It was a margin, a profit margin measured in lives and measured in dependency. The water crisis after the collapse was not a failure of technology. It was a failure of distribution, manufactured by systems that profited from scarcity. And the 5 methods you now know exist outside that manufactured scarcity. They always did. You cannot buy independence from contaminated water. You build it. The 5 methods I've walked you through tonight are not secret. They are not restricted. They are publicly documented, scientifically validated, and buildable with materials that exist right now, in this moment, wherever you are. The only thing that kept them from you was a business model that required you not to know them. Physics doesn't negotiate with quarterly earnings. Chemistry doesn't respect profit margins. And water, actual water, the molecular structure H2O, does not care who owns the filtration patent. What other purification technologies belong on this list? That's your assignment. Comment below with methods you've found, technologies you've tested, or filtration solutions the industry pretends don't exist. Every piece of knowledge you add to this archive is one more exit from the dependency systems that were designed to outlast you. Build it, verify it, share it. Thermodynamics has no shareholders.